Hello! It's us again. I want to say, first and foremost, Happy Mother's Day to everybody here out there with us. But I have a very special surprise. Are you ready for this? Wait. Yeah, wait. Can you see? Uh-oh. It said to rotate my phone. I have the very special privilege of spending Mother's Day with my 3 kids. Now, my son is working, but I have Megan here with me, and I have Kayla here with me, and they are the best daughters in the world. And I'm sorry, every mother probably feels like that, but guess what? It is all about how you feel about your children. And I feel like they are the best kids in the world. So I wanted to share a story with you guys tonight that was about Hannah. And Hannah was kind of sad because she wanted a baby so badly, and she had prayed about it and prayed about it. But as you know, that when you pray for things, sometimes you feel like God doesn't hear your prayers, but He does. He always hears your prayers. We just have to be patient and wait for God's timing and allow God to work in our lives in a wonderful, mysterious way that He always does. So this was the first baby. Oh,
Number 1.
Megan. And this was my second baby. And something really strange happens after you have a baby. They grow up. They're not babies for long. So I'm so happy to have my 2 babies with me tonight. So I'm going to ask one of my little wonderful babies to hold the phone for me so I can read. Let's see. Oh, sorry about that. That was my thumb on there. So Megan's just very techno savvy. She's got us all figured out. So what we're going to read tonight is going to come from where, Megan? What chapter?
1 Samuel.
That's right. That's
Chapter
the book.
1.
Not the chapter. That's the book.
Chapter 1.
And Kayla's going to get over here. And she loves it when I hug on her. She just loves me so much. Yeah. She went with me to the cemetery today, so we've had a very, very big day. For those of you who are fortunate enough to have your mothers with you, tell them you love them. And tell them Happy Mother's Day. So this story says, Lent to the Lord. All this time, the tabernacle built in the wilderness had been at Shiloh, about 25 miles north of Jerusalem, where Joshua had set it up shortly after crossing the Jordan. It looked pretty shabby, though, now, because it had been exposed to all kinds of weather for nearly 300 years. 300 years. Can you imagine going to worship God in a church that's 300 years old? So it took some time. So they said, I think we're going to have to do some stuff here to fix that. So after 300 years, it was still the center of worship for all who were faithful to God of heaven. Megan's pushing some buttons there. So inside it still were the ark, the 7-branched candlestick, the altar of incense, and the table of showbread, which young Bezalel had made with such wonderful skill. Outside... sorry about that. Somebody's trying to call and say Happy Mother's Day, I think. So, Happy Mother's Day. So, let's go back to what was in the altar. Do you remember? Let's think about it. What was the one thing we said? There was a brazen altar. It was green with age, with smoke rising from a sacrifice just offered upon it. So, Eli was the high priest now, a very weak man. Nothing like Aaron or Eleazar, who had held the office at first. His 2 spoiled boys. Now, do you know what spoiled means? What's that mean, Megan?
It means that they've been given everything they wanted, and so now they just expect it.
And my kids are not spoiled, right, Kayla?
Well, one of them's not.
Kayla's not. Kayla is such a good girl. I love this girl, and I love this girl. And I wish Mark could be with us, but he's not with us right now. So, these 2 spoiled boys, Hophni and Phinehas, were up to all kinds of mischief. And because of their bad example, people visiting the tabernacle were beginning to lose all respect for the holy place. Kayla, what's it like when somebody loses respect for a holy place?
It's not good.
It's not good, is it? So when you go to church, you should be respectful of your church, because that's God's house. As you can imagine, God was much displeased. and began to look for another leader. One day, as Eli was sitting on a seat by one of the tent posts, are you smiling so cheesy?
Yeah.
So,
Well, it was fine because you said the church was
oh, well, I'm sorry. The church is where we worship God, and our body is God's house, right? Is that what you want me to say?
We are the church, the building. But you should still respect the building because
Okay.
you're supposed to respect what God's given you.
What a great bedtime story. Let's get you confused.
He wants some theological discussions here.
How about we just read the story? What do you
Okay.
think, Kayla?
I'm so tired. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So one day, as Eli was sitting on a seat by one of the tent posts, his attention was drawn to a woman who was acting in a very strange way. She seemed to be making faces and talking to herself. Can you imagine that?
Do it all the time.
Well, I hope that Eli doesn't see you because he thought that she was drunk. He thought she'd had too much beer.
Oh.
Or wine. What on earth is going on? He thought she was drunk. So he saw a chance to do something to stop the wickedness going on around the tabernacle, and he scolded her. He scolded her severely, and he told her to stop drinking. And she looked at him and she said, "But I'm not drunk. I'm just too sad to speak. I was only pouring out my heart to God." Oh, now Eli was very sorry he had spoken so harshly and asked, what was the problem? What can I do to help you? Then Hannah told her story. She said she was married to a kind man named Elkanah, but she didn't have a baby. And oh, how she wanted a baby. Her friends had babies, lots of them, but she didn't have one, not a single one, and it didn't seem fair. She had cried and cried about it until she couldn't cry anymore. Her husband had said to her, "Am not I better than 2 sons? How about 10 sons?" But of course, he didn't understand how she felt. She had prayed again and again about it, but nothing had happened. Now she had come to the tabernacle once more to ask God to please give her a baby, and soon. And if she should be able to have one, she said so eagerly, "I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life." Eli's heart was touched, and he told her, "Go in peace," he said to her tenderly, "and God grant your prayer." Hannah stopped sobbing. A beautiful smile spread over her tear-stained face. From what Eli had said and the way he had said it, she felt sure her prayer would be answered. She went home happy for the first time in years. God answered her prayer in no time at all. There you go. Megan's.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
I was looking at the story.
So she went
Sorry.
home and she was happy, right? That's what we were talking about. So God answered her prayer, and in no time at all, or it seemed to her, no time at all, a lovely baby boy arrived. And guess what? She called him Samuel. Megan? They ought to let Kayla hold the phone. Megan's so excited she just wants to read along. So Samuel means what? What do you think Samuel means?
Can't look at the book.
It means asked of God. That's right, Kayla. So it was very fitting that Hannah should call her precious baby by that name. How glad she was to have a little boy all to her own. What made her happier still was the thought that this dear bundle of love had come to her straight from heaven in answer to her prayers. Next time Elkanah went up to the tabernacle at Shiloh, Hannah stayed home to better care for her baby.
Why are you speed reading?
So tenderly, she watched over him day by day and month by month. She treasured every precious moment that she had with this baby, for she had not forgotten her promise to lend him to the Lord. So when at last Samuel was big enough to feed himself and run around on his own, she took him to Eli. So I want to show you the picture, the very first picture when she was at the tabernacle.
It's a really good picture.
Okay.
Do you guys notice how he has on the high priest garments? Not everyone dressed like that. Only the high priest dressed like that.
Oh.
Why?
because it symbolized authority, and it showed that you have to be. Oh, there's a whole thing behind it, Kayla. We don't have time to break down the Levitical laws.
Okay, so here she is with her baby
Exodus.
Samuel. And look how excited she was to get to play with him. Okay. So, are we going to turn it back over? So, when Samuel was big enough to feed himself and run around on his own, she took him to Eli. At first, this gentleman, he didn't seem to recognize her. So she said, "Oh, my Lord, as thy soul liveth, my Lord, I am the woman that stood by thee here praying unto the Lord." Then she pointed to little Samuel holding tightly to her dress. "For this child I prayed," she said. "Therefore also I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he liveth, he shall be lent to the Lord." Eli was quite taken aback. He had never seen such earnestness, such devotion, and such love for God as he saw on Hannah's face at this moment. It was so different from the ugly, unkind looks he had seen so often on the faces of his own sons. If only everybody in Israel would love God like this and be willing to lend their children to him, how different everything would be. Reverently, the old man bowed his head and worshipped. As for Hannah, she dropped to her knees and began to pray, "My heart rejoiceth in the Lord, because I rejoice in thy salvation. There is none holy as the Lord, for there is none beside thee, neither is there any rock like our God." This was no silent prayer. Like the one she had prayed years before, aloud she cried for all to hear, "He raiseth up the poor out of the dust, and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill, to set them among princes, and to make them inherit the throne of glory." Hannah felt like a princess herself at that moment, and she knew in her heart that Samuel, her precious little Samuel, was now a prince of God. Had she not lent him to the Lord of glory for the rest of his life, indeed, forever and ever. And this is her being very, very joyful. Whoops, sorry about that. So I want to share with you tonight one thing. The Lord has given me 3 beautiful children, but he made me a very proud mother. A very heartfelt compassion for what these children have done in my life. But I know God has given me these children so I can give them back to him. So as you are there and you're watching this story, pray for your mommy and your daddy. Pray for your grandma, your grandpa, Mimi, Meemaw, Papa, Pappy, whatever you call them. And pray, parents, or those who are raising children or close to children. Pray for them each and every day, that they can see the glory that God can perform in their lives. So if you haven't had a chance to get that last minute Mother's Day gift, you can go to theboldmovement.com. We have t-shirts, hats, cups. We got it all, folks. I know. You knew I was going to throw that in there. So it is info, I-N-F-O, at theboldmovement.com. And we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. Did I get them all? I think I got them all. And just know that God loves you so very much.
It's called Tweeter.
Oh, yeah. Twitter, tweet. You guys are giving me a rough time. My kids love me. Thank you so much for everything. And thank you for sharing a little portion of your evening with us tonight. Happy Mother's Day. We'll see you soon.